Hey guys, it's SweViver, welcome back. Today I'm doing an exclusive first look review of the XTAL VR headset, which I had a chance to check out last week at the VR Days exhibition in Amsterdam. XTAL is a wide field of view and high resolution VR headset currently aiming at the professional market. The XTAL headset gives us a 170-degree field of view image on the horizontal side, and the image is rendered by two full-size 1440p high-resolution OLED displays. This, combined with advanced and custom-tailored non-Fresnel lenses, the XTAL is supposed to be the most advanced VR headset available on the market as of today. The XTAL has a built-in eye tracking solution giving us automatic IPD value calibration using the auto-eye technology, which is the world's first auto IPD adjustment system. The eye tracking also has the ability to automatically adjust focus with variable focal lengths, and it's ready for the future software solutions such as foveated rendering. The headset supports several different VR tracking options using a custom clip-on solution, which includes SteamVR 2.0 tracking, the ART or Advanced Real-Time Tracking solution, as well as OptiTrack. The XTAL also includes a built-in leap motion hand tracking module located at the bottom part of the headset, which is very similar to the Pimax leap motion module, with a wider field of view of tracking of the hands than the original leap motion unit. Well, I gotta say that all this sounds like the ultimate VR headset for every VR gamer and enthusiast, and definitely a Pimax 5K Plus killer, right? Well, I must add that being a real VR enthusiast enjoying virtual reality for what it is today, you need to be ready to shell out nearly $5,000 to get your hands on this professional VR device. We need to remember that XTAL is currently not aiming for the VR market after all. And while I personally feel buying this device today is a mission impossible for me and probably for most of you as well, I'm still aware of the fact that there are possible home consumers and especially VR enthusiasts out there who are indeed ready to pay whatever price needed just to get the best possible VR immersion and experience in games. And this is also mainly the reason why I'm doing this first hands-on review, and for the rest of us who cannot afford the XTAL headset, I think this might be an interesting glimpse into the future of virtual reality and what it can offer us in a few years from now. But before we begin, please subscribe to my channel guys, and leave a like on this video, and stay tuned for much more VR related content coming up here on SweViver. I would like to give a huge thanks to all my Patreon supporters, and a special thanks to my official sponsors on Patreon, Commander Darklight, artArmin and VR Ambassador. Okay, so first off, I need to point out that this review of XTAL may probably confuse many of you, but I will try to make things clear from start. The thing is that XTAL was publicly showcased at the VR Days exhibition in Amsterdam last week, and while many of you who visited VR Days probably tried the XTAL, I need to inform you that the public showcase of the VR Days was of the old version of the headset. The company behind XTAL, VR Genius, which has the home base in Czech Republic, has recently upgraded the XTAL headset with brand new lenses and many other features, dramatically improving the experience. And the new unrevealed version of the XTAL VR headset was only available exclusively behind the curtains for a handful of invited companies and press journalists. Well, this is something that I was not aware of when I arrived at VR Days, so I started off by checking out the official public showcase of XTAL, and luckily, a few hours later, I also got invited by the XTAL representatives to test the new and improved version of XTAL, which in many ways feels like a completely different VR headset. So in this video, I will first give you some impressions and conclusions of the official XTAL version showcased at VR Days, and then afterwards, we will move on to the main review of the new and improved XTAL headset. I hope this makes sense to you, and I hope you will find it interesting. Anyways, without having any experience with the XTAL headset before, me being a daily Pimax 8K and 5K Plus user and beta tester for months now, I had very high expectations on the XTAL from start. The fact that this unit is priced at around $5,000 compared to the $700 or $900 you can pre-order the Pimax headset for, I had the feeling that XTAL must be miles ahead of Pimax regarding all kinds of aspects, including panels, lenses and field of view, of course. Unfortunately, the publicly showcased old and previous version of the XTAL, which was the first I tried during the VR Days exhibition this year, was quite a disappointment to me, to be honest. Let me just go step by step here. Right after putting on the XTAL headset, I started an automatic IPD calibration made by the eye tracking system, which was started by a simple voice command. It simply showed a red ball in front of my view, which I was supposed to focus on, and after 2 or 3 seconds my IPD value was recognized. Unfortunately, I felt that the automatic IPD calibration didn't do a proper job here, as I still felt I had some slightly crossed eyes. My real IPD value is 69.5, and because this old XTAL version never showed me the IPD value it measured, I couldn't really verify if it's wrong or not, but to me it felt like it was using way too low value, maybe around 65 or so. I should maybe add that the IPD adjustment was not adjustable manually either, so I just had to accept this value and had it throughout this testing session and try to overlook it for this time. At the first glance, the resolution and screen door effect on the old XTAL version was the best I've ever seen in the VR headset as of today. The screen door was more or less completely gone and the clarity was just outstanding. The render resolution felt much higher than 1440p per eye as stated in the specifications, and especially when compared to the Pimax 5K Plus. The image really popped and looked more realistic than ever. The VR demo I tried using this old XTAL version was a room-scale BMW car experience, and the details of the car interiors just looked amazing and sharper than anything I've ever seen in VR so far. I'm sure XTAL is using some very high quality panels with smaller gaps between the pixels, creating much less screen door effect and more crisp image, which really makes a huge difference in virtual reality. The first impressions of the image quality and clarity was just mind-blowing to me, as it kind of blows away the Vive Pro, the Samsung Odyssey and also the Pimax 5K Plus and 8K headset. The OLED panels also showed its full potential with incredibly vivid colors, very high contrast levels and perfect deep blacks, just as expected from high quality OLED displays. But the advantages of using OLED panels in VR also has its downsides. The main thing I just couldn't overlook here was the huge amount of black smearing or ghosting around black and very dark objects when I was moving my head, especially during fast movements. This is something I also saw when testing an early version of the Pimax 5K Business Edition 2 months ago, which also uses OLED displays. The black smearing and ghosting on the old XTAL version I just tried was to me very obvious and even quite distracting. According to one of the XTAL representatives at VR Days, the OLED panels are running in 70Hz only, but I could personally not feel the lower refresh rate being a problem, and I could not notice any flickering, not even looking high up in the bright sky. It just felt like any other 90Hz VR headset to me. Thanks to the advanced XTAL lenses, which are not Fresnel lenses by the way, I could not see any glare or God rays whatsoever. For the first time, the lens reflections were completely gone in VR, even in very high contrast scenes having both pitch black and totally white areas. Personally, I always thought that the Gear VR lenses were awesome when used on the HTC Vive after a lens swap, but now I must say that the XTAL lenses plays in its own league when it comes to God rays and reflections. But now let's talk about the less good parts about this old XTAL headset. First off, the field of view. The field of view was supposed to be set at maximum in this test session, but to me it felt kind of limiting and very rectangular in the shape. Coming from a Pimax headset, I would say that the old XTAL version gave me a horizontal field of view of around 150 to 160 degrees, very similar to the normal field of view of Pimax. For some reason, the vertical field of view was noticeably smaller on the XTAL compared to the Pimax, especially on the bottom side, and I would estimate the vertical field of view to be around 100 degrees or even slightly less. So while the field of view of the old XTAL version is much larger than the field of view of the current generation VR headset can provide you, it was still slightly smaller than the Pimax largest field of view, and you can easily spot the quite noticeable black edges both on the horizontal plane and especially on the vertical plane. Although I must say that the size of the field of view was not really the main problem here. I would say that the very obvious rectangular projection of the image was mainly the biggest problem for me. It just felt like I was looking through a wide rectangular hole or gap, and it kind of took away some of the immersion for me. Being used to play on the Pimax, which has slightly rounded and diffused image on the horizontal and vertical edges, the visible edges of this XTAL device was just too rectangular, too straight and too sharp in my opinion. The projected image in front of me was totally distortion free, but the peripheral vision from maybe 140 degrees and onwards to the sides definitely had some distortions which was not corrected. Not in the same blurry way as the Pimax headset does, as the old XTAL definitely was sharper until the edges of the screen, but the peripheral image just felt unnatural and slightly warped throughout the last 10 or 15 degrees on each side of the horizontal edges, creating a bit strange peripheral view. Another thing that I really could not stop seeing was the surprisingly narrow binocular overlap on this old version of the XTAL headset. The total binocular vision felt like something between 70 or maybe 80 degrees, or at least far from the 100 degrees I was actually expecting, and the binocular overlap black borders were very noticeable here and quite wide as well, creating a dark, large and distracting vertical line on each side around maybe 40 degrees from the center of your viewpoint. This is also something that is noticeable on the Pimax headset, but I must say in this old version of XTAL I had more visible and distracting overlap lines. This older version of the XTAL headset already had a built-in leap motion hand tracking module similar to the Pimax leap motion module, and I must say that the hand tracking worked good just as expected and the finger tracking was very accurate, but for some reason I could not have the hands closer to the headset more than maybe 20 centimeters, as when moving the hands closer to the headset the hands started to disappear or glitch out. As for the tracking, the showcase of this old XTAL at VR Days was tracked with the ART tracking system, which stands for Advanced Real-Time Tracking, powered with 8 lighthouses located around the room scale area, which was maybe 4 times 3 meters. And I must say the tracking was flawless and felt just like regular Steam VR tracking system. I'm not sure if all the 8 base stations really was needed for the ART tracking, but I guess they used 8 of them just to make sure that the tracking keeps stable despite being a very busy exhibition area. All in all, my first experience with this old version of XTAL was a bit of a surprise and kind of a disappointment in some of the mentioned aspects. And before we move on to the new and improved version of XTAL that I tested, let me give you a couple of first impressions from my friends and Patreon supporters and sponsors who also tried out the old XTAL version at VR Days.
So I tried XTAL right now, and the quality of the display was really good. It's an OLED display, but the field of view is not that great. Oh. And it's kind of rectangular, not circular, if you call it cylindrical. And it's more wide. It has a less height, but also it didn't fit on my face because of my glasses. If I take my glasses off, it was perfect. There was no problem in it. And the automatic IPD adjustment it had, absolutely great. Yes. But then again, there was an overlap in between the two eyes. I'm not sure what that was. Maybe the angle of the lens or an angle of the displays was not correct. I don't know. But overall, I was happy with it. It's definitely better than HTC or anything else, but it's very pricey for consumer usage.
Honestly, about the pricing, I was not that impressed, especially because it was that expensive. I was expecting more, especially what I know about Pimax. I haven't tried Pimax, but having tried the XTAL, like Armin said, the resolution is amazing, the colors are amazing, the overall quality of what you see is great. But there is a lot of black on the sides at the top, and that is something I didn't expect. I heard it was also really good FOV, but it wasn't. and the automatic adjustment for me didn't really work well. They tried it 3 times and it still wasn't 100% sharp. So they have eye tracking in there, which is also going to support foveated rendering in a few months, they said. So that's going to be interesting. But it wasn't perfect. It wasn't lined up exactly as it was. There was some black smear. There was some, between the different lenses, because there's 4 lenses in the thing, and I could see some borders between the lenses. So it wasn't as perfect as I hoped. But they're going to make new lenses in December as well, so maybe this isn't the final version.
Did you see the binocular overlap?
Yes. Yes, I tried to adjust it with the automatic thing, but I still saw a little border on both eyes, so yeah.
Yeah.
Did you see that too?
Yeah, the borders on the side and the one in the middle, like on the nose.
Right.
But that's it. I didn't see any issues with the projection or anything, but maybe you did. I don't know.
No, it's perfectly smooth.
It was 70 hertz?
No,
not at all.
70 hertz displays actually.
Oh yeah, no. I tried moving around quickly and stuff. The only thing you have then is the bit of a black smear, like it's a bit of a ghosting, but it was smooth. It was perfectly clear. Yeah, that was okay. I would hope so.
So, while the previous XTAL was far from perfect, let's start by talking about the new and greatly improved XTAL version, which I personally, together with Sebastian Ang from the MRTV YouTube channel and Thomas from VoodooDE channel, got exclusive access to. All 3 of us got private hands-on sessions with this new XTAL version, and luckily I was also able to give my lovely Patreon supporters and sponsors a short testing session with this version of XTAL, and I would gladly give you their own opinions at the end of this video. The new XTAL version is basically the same VR headset, but with brand new custom lenses, which are also non-Fresnel lenses. According to the VR engineers, the company behind the XTAL, the new lenses in this improved XTAL version gives you a wider field of view vertically and horizontally, a bigger sweet spot, a wider binocular overlap, and noticeably less distortion. Well, this sounds exciting, don't you think? Let's see if that's true. First off, jumping into the wide field of view R with this new XTAL version was a totally different story than before. The automatically calibrated IPD value just felt perfect now without even doing any initial calibration. So I assume that the eye tracking automatically adjusts the IPD as soon as you put on the headset. The IPD just felt spot on, and I did not feel my eyes being crossed at all anymore, and the whole experience was just more comfortable for my eyes overall. The new version has a greatly improved real-time eye tracking solution built in, not only for the automatic IPD adjustment, but also for the real-time automatic focusing and focal length adjustment. Moving your leap motion tracked hands closer to the headset, you feel the headset is quickly refocusing your view on the hands and fingers, giving you a much more realistic depth of field and focus on the close-ups. It's now much easier to focus on objects up close without the feeling your eyes are actually being crossed as normally when using other VR headsets. While having my hands close to the headset focusing on one finger only, I really felt that the eyes were focusing correctly now, also giving me a narrow depth of field I never felt before in VR. I really feel that real-time eye tracking is a part of the future in VR, as it really makes a huge difference, much more than I ever expected in VR. What also should be mentioned here is that there is a manual focus wheel on the right side of the XTAL headset, and this gives us the ability to focus manually on different distances. As a comparison with the commonly used Fresnel lenses, you have a focus set to a static distance, but with the XTAL lenses you're able to change the focal distance or the focal length between lenses and the panels, and this means people with a different positive and negative diopters most likely won't need to use glasses anymore with the XTAL VR headset. Moving on, the new version of the XTAL I tested was only using 3 degrees of freedom with only rotational tracking, in other words, without room scale tracking or positional tracking. This is because this unit had no clip-on tracking solution attached. My entire testing session with this new XTAL version included a few different 360 3D environments and also a 360 8K resolution video showing a city landscape with skyscrapers from above, which truly looked fantastic. The fact that the XTAL was using new lenses was really easy to spot here in terms of field of view. The field of view was now greatly improved both horizontally and vertically. I estimate the horizontal field of view to be around 170 degrees just as promised, and it felt very similar to the large field of view of Pimax 8K and 5K Plus, or maybe even slightly wider than the Pimax headsets. The vertical field of view was definitely improved and larger as well, but I must still say I could clearly see the black edges, which made the whole field of view still look a bit more rectangular overall. The vertical field of view is really not bad now and larger than the old XTAL unit, but compared to the Pimax vertical field of view, it still lacks maybe 10 or 15 degrees in total. The more narrow vertical field of view is also more apparent on the bottom side of the XTAL headset rather than on the upper side, which almost was filled up to the top now. But what really made me surprised was the fact that the edge distortions were now almost completely gone. I would say you could still see some very slight distortion at the far edges of the peripheral vision within the 160-degree field of view, but this is something most people will never notice, and I would say it's as close to perfect as it could be. Peeking at objects at the peripheral vision of around 160 or more degrees, I could easily see individual objects fully sharp. The new lenses really makes a difference here, and I'm sure a lot of work has been put into the distortion profiles. No warping, no blur, no distortion whatsoever unless you're a very picky and critical person probably looking at test charts. Along with the lack of distortion, the binocular overlap is now greatly improved, giving you at least 100 or maybe 110 degrees of 3D stereo overlap. The numbers are only my own personal estimations, of course, but the XTAL team has also stated that the binocular overlap should be at least 30% wider in this new version compared to the old XTAL. The improved binocular overlap vision gives us a much more realistic depth in the image, and what's even more surprising is that the binocular overlap black edges are nearly gone now, and while I could see the lines of the borders of the binocular overlap slightly diffused, I must say you will never notice them until you really start to look for it. Another big update with the new XTAL was the sweet spot. I must say that the sweet spot is a wrong term in this case, as basically the entire image of the new XTAL headset is super sharp and feels like a huge sweet spot. Whatever you want to read or peek at, even in the peripheral vision, it's just fully sharp and readable until the last degrees of the edges, both horizontally and vertically. This is definitely the most sharp VR headset I've ever seen across the whole visible image area, and thanks to the almost invisible borders of the binocular overlap, the XTAL total sweet spot is much bigger than on the Pimax 5K Plus and 8K, for example, despite the fact that the Pimax headset has a much bigger sweet spot than any of the other current generation VR headsets. The displays on the new XTAL is the same OLED panels as before as far as I know, running at 70Hz with low persistence technology built in. Personally, I could not feel any difference here in terms of refresh rate once again, and the blacks were pure blacks just as before with truly impressive contrast levels and color reproduction. What I noticed with the panels is that the black smear is now almost completely gone. XTAL has managed to remove the annoying OLED black smear ghosting of dark and black object, which I find very impressive, to be honest. If you really look closely, you could still see some very slight ghosting, but it's really minimal now and nothing you will ever get distracted by. Furthermore, the new XTAL has no God rays or glare whatsoever, just like in the old version, and you may also wonder how about the resolution and screen door effect. Well, I must say that while it was really outstanding in the old version of the XTAL, I have a feeling that the resolution looks even better now using the new XTAL version. Maybe this could be caused by the more correct auto IPD adjustment, but the whole image just looked even more sharp and crisp now. The clarity is simply amazing on the XTAL, and you will really need to work hard to see the screen door effect. According to the XTAL representative, the new custom-made lenses are now utilizing 100% of the entire OLED panels, which basically means no pixels are wasted, giving you the maximum possible render resolution and the lowest possible screen door effect using 1440p panels. The XTAL guys at the VR Days also points out that the VR headset is currently using single DisplayPort cable, one USB 3 cable and an external power cable, but the team is currently working on implementing the NVIDIA Virtual Link solution, which will replace all three cables with one single USB Type-C cable connected straight to your RTX series graphic card. You may also wonder about the comfort. I must say both of the XTAL versions are huge in size. Suddenly the Pimax feels quite small in comparison, and while the XTAL headsets are not really heavy in weight, I can see the bulkiness of the headset as a problem for some gamers, especially when playing VR games with bow and arrows, for example, where you definitely will struggle constantly hitting your headset with the controllers while aiming. I know, XTAL is not made for VR gamers from the start, but one day it may become a common VR gamer headset, and for that purpose I think it needs to shrink a little bit in size to really become handy and comfortable, especially during longer usage. The built-in head strap on the XTAL is very comfortable, balancing out weight on the headset fairly good, so I never felt that the headset was front heavy at all. I didn't feel the weight much either, as the XTAL is indeed heavier than the Pimax, but still I feel it's nothing you will feel thanks to the good weight balance. There is a tension wheel at the back of the strap, just like on the HTC Vive Deluxe Auto Strap, and I didn't need to tension the strap much to make it sit stable and comfortable on my head and face. The head strap is also replaceable thanks to the new head strap mount that was introduced in the new XTAL version, and XTAL is planning to make different kind of head straps upon request from companies and buyers with custom designs. XTAL includes a high-quality built-in microphone with its own voice recognition and voice command software, and regarding the sound, it offers spatial 3D sound powered by the built-in sound card. As for the sound and microphone, I was not able to test any of it during these two sessions I had with the old and new XTAL version, so I cannot really tell you much about it at this point. Now let's listen to some of the Patreon supporters and sponsors, including my friends, telling you all about the experience with the new XTAL version.
This is right. This is how it's supposed to look like, not the one I tried before. Oh man, this is great. Everything I've got to talk about it.
You did try the other XTAL, right?
I tried the first XTAL, and that one was not as great as this one. What was wrong with it? There was a lot of black borders around it, in the middle was there, and also the IPD adjustment was not working correctly on the other one. But this one, it looks correct, and I can see my hands just now, I realize. And the thing about it is that the resolution is really high. I can see the pixels, but that's because I pay attention to these things. Normally, you wouldn't see them. I can see the texture on the carpet, I can see the texture on the fabric, on the books, everything, and the field of view is well, around here somewhere. And also from the height, it works great. No blacks, nothing in the middle. It's a huge improvement, absolutely. And there's no distortion on the side. I mean, if I'm being critical, sure, there is a tiny little distortion on the very edge of the lens, on the edge of the lens, but that's not even visible. That's just because I'm a critic, so I see that.
The overlap is gone. That is completely gone. That is definitely a lot better. I can see a bit of distortion, more than, actually I see some blue borders on the side. It's like a little bit of, I don't know if it's I don't know, screen leakage, light leakage from the backlight or something, but on the sides I see a bit of blue, so that's a bit weird. But yeah, there is a lot of screen flicker for me. I can tell the refresh rates of the screens.
It's 70 Hz, so maybe that's it. I'm not sure.
I didn't notice it with the other model, but I really see flickering. Overall, it's really a lot better than the other system I tried, the main one that they're doing.
Yeah, I'm trying the new version now, and the new version is definitely better than what I've seen before. The field of view is also better than before. I'm now comparing it to the version that I've seen before in Prague. So they did improve. For the clarity, I still feel that this is like superior than Pimax, for example.
Yeah, definitely. Same here.
Well, for me again, the clarity of the picture is winning over other competing headsets. Just the field of view is not as impressive as, for example, Pimax or XTAL VR 1. So yeah, on the one hand you get the better clarity, on the other hand you get less field of view. So you really need to, it would be great to combine everything together to one perfect headset, and that is what SweViver and MRTV are going to make.
Right? One day.
One day.
No, but we can at least agree that even though we like Pimax, this is a better unit. This is a better unit.
The clarity is like so good.
Yeah.
On the XTAL.
Yeah, definitely.
But they must work on the FOV.
But
it's better now. It's better than before. Before it was even less. So now the vertical and horizontal is better because they have even better lenses now.
But XTAL versus Star VR.
Yeah, Star VR 1.
Better.
Yes. Because there's like they have this huge field of view and no distortion. So yeah, so they still have to work on the distortion as well.
Listen to this guy. Stay out.
This guy? No.
Never trust the Germans.
Never trust the Germans.
From what I have personally experienced, I must say all in all, the new version of the XTAL headset with all the huge improvements was just what I initially expected from a professional grade wide field of view VR headset such as XTAL. This level of image quality is something that I hope we can see in a consumer grade product at least in a couple of years from now. The price tag of around $5,000 makes this headset definitely not something for the casual VR gamer to consider today, and the XTAL developers themselves are fully aware of that fact. But if you are a true VR enthusiast having your pockets full of money, I must admit that the XTAL is the best available VR headset you'll get for the money today, and if you can afford it, I'm sure you will not regret it. The new version of XTAL with all the improvements including the new lenses will be available for purchase already in November this year, and while I personally cannot afford a headset for $5,000, I have big hopes that the future version of XTAL with more reasonable price tag will be available for VR enthusiasts sooner or later.
I just wished it was a little bit cheaper, because a product for $5,000 it's quite difficult to kind of encourage yourself to buy it just for gaming, because it's I understand you're just aiming for the business, I mean for
but
corporate.
it's not that we don't want to make it cheaper, but right now these high-end components cost much more.
Yeah,
That's
especially the eye tracking module, everything.
Everything, the hand tracking, everything, literally everything.
But is it possible to make a model like this without the eye tracking? I mean, just like a cheaper Pimax or something, just make it.
Yes.
Make it like $2,000 or something.
Yeah, and we want to do it with some like well-known gaming brand.
Yeah.
Like for example, I will be super happy if we get in touch with Razer.
Yeah.
And we will make the Razer style a bit cheaper, but still the best visual quality for the gaming.
Yeah.
That's what I wish for.
Yeah.
But I'm missing contact, so whoever knows those guys, please share the contacts and we will approach them, because that's what I really want to do.
Yeah.
Lastly, me together with Sebastian Ang from MRTV and Thomas from VoodooDE got invited to the XTAL main office in Prague later this year to try out the improved XTAL headset with games, simulators and much more. So by then, I'm sure I will be able to give you a much more in-depth information and review about how XTAL really performs in games especially and simulators. So make sure to subscribe to my channel and get ready for lots of interesting VR content and VR headset reviews coming up here on SweViver. Guys, big thanks for watching, and I really hope you found this XTAL first look review interesting, and if you did, please leave a thumbs up and support me on Patreon with $2 a month if you really appreciate my content. I would highly appreciate that. As always, a huge thanks to all my lovely Patreon supporters, and a special thanks to all my official sponsors, Commander Darklight, artArmin, and VR Ambassador. Have a lovely day now, and see you in my next video. Cheers!